Partnerships are the future of accounting, building trust, growth, and freedom in an AI era. Welcome to The Connected Accountant, the podcast where we explore how strategic partnerships can transform your accounting practice. I'm your co-host, Anthony Pearl, and today we're going to get into why partnerships aren't just nice to have, they're essential for thriving in today's rapidly changing accounting landscape.
You can be quite strategic about acquiring amazing partners.
The more you give, we found the more you get.
So it's not about having hundreds of partners, it's about having good ones.
Joining me today are our three regular panelists who bring incredible expertise to the show. Talila Kroy from Emple, Wayne Findlay from the Backroom, and Ian Aldridge from Progressive Legal. So let's get into what will make you the Connected Accountant. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of The Connected Accountant. And I am absolutely delighted to have the three panelists that are going to be regular part of this podcast joining us. So first of all, to Talila, Wayne, and Ian, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Anthony.
Good evening.
So firstly, what we've got to do is actually introduce everybody to the audience. And so Talila, you've been central to helping kick this thing off in the first place. So why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Absolutely. So for a podcast that's about partnerships and accountants doing partnerships together, this itself is a joint venture partnership. And one of the things I do is build partnerships. So my name is Talila. I'm from Emple, and we build sales engines and also partner engines for visionary, fast-growing businesses. We help those founders of businesses to realize their vision by not only systemizing their sales, but surrounding them with partners that serve the ideal client better.
Excellent. Well, I think we're going to come back to a lot of these introductions in a bit because some of the underlying reasons as to why we're all here today is incredibly important. But let's go around, and Wayne, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, I'm from the Backroom, which is an offshoring business in the Philippines, and that's where I am right now. And so we focus on accountants. And we focus on accountants is because I am an accountant. So back in the day, I had an accounting firm in New Zealand with my brother Scott, and we got into offshoring pretty early, and hence why I am here now in the Philippines.
Fantastic. And what about you, Ian?
I'm Ian Aldridge from Progressive Legal. I've founded the business. I founded the firm 10 years ago. I had 10 years before that working for other firms, small, medium, and large. But more recently in the last 10 years, I wanted to help small business and grow startups and growing gazelle businesses. And we work closely with accountants to help with the conjunction of the both legal and financial advice to make sure that the businesses are protected.
Excellent. Well, look, I think we're going to get into some of the discussion that's going to reveal a lot about why we're here and a lot of things that are going to be of huge value to accountants as we move through. And Talila, I just come to you first and say, because you and I started the conversation about bringing this all together, and I think it's an important one for people to understand at a high level, the value of partnerships and why accountants.
Yeah, well, a number of our clients and also partners are accountants, and we know that in the accounting world at the moment, and not just the accounting world, AI is really impacting everyone. I'd like to say we're in a trust recession because people are no longer believing all the stuff that's happening, particularly with marketing. There's so much noise. And we're also finding that a lot of accountants are being displaced from their usual comfort zone of compliance by all the automation and so on. And indeed, their futures are being redefined. And I feel like for the accountants that I know and the ones I know of, they're struggling to see a clear path forward that will secure their business and give their clients the best result. And to us, it's all about going back to being the connected accountant and getting connected to those other providers for the same client that are going to not only provide you with a lot of work, but also give the client a fantastic experience and do what no AI can do, which is that human-to-human support.
It's a very important facet that we are going to come and focus on quite a bit. And I think, Wayne, it's important to talk to you a little bit about your journey. You touched on it a little bit about how you're an accountant originally and you've created the offshoring company. And that's part of the reason why we're here as well, because what you have seen is this level of, I guess, exhaustion that happens in the marketplace, the need for more support But talk to me a little bit about your journey in going from one to the other in the first place, because I think that context is really important.
Yeah, our accounting firm, back in the day, we were early adopters of Xero, and that was one of our key partners early on. And they were great working with us because, one, we had good technology, but two, we got a lot of referrals from Xero, and we had a lot of events with Xero to promote Xero, and that's how we got our clients. So that was an example of a partnership that we did that set us up for success. And we've continued working with Xero today as well through our offshoring. So the partners that we have, I think, if we go back to the accounting firm, has always been partners that are good for our clients. So it's all about client centricity, I suppose, and making sure that we were the trusted advisor, so that way all our clients would come to us and ask for support. And that sort of continues on today, I suppose, because now we're sort of finding that a lot of accounting firms working with us, and they see us as a support network. We can show them what things to do, and especially with AI. And then again, we've come full circle again, where I think we're more like a bit of a trusted advisor with some accounting firms as well. So, yeah. Interesting.
I mean, and the amount that AI is playing a role, Wayne, is significant. I mean, people outside may think, oh, accountants, surely technology is not a big role. But in fact, as you pointed out with Xero, one of the early adopters of technology, and it puts a lot of pressure on accounting firms and creates exhaustion, creates a drain on resources.
I think, and if you talk to Xero, and from an accountant's perspective, from what I have been talking to accountants around the traps, that we see AI as being a tool, basically, that it is like, it's not really a threat as far as it's going to enhance what accountants are doing. And I think Xero's philosophy is the same. They don't see, at least in the near future, and I'm talking 5 years, where Xero will take over the world and will be run by robots. No, I think it's going to be, we need that human interaction, and I think that's Xero's approach, and that's definitely what we're seeing from talking to accountants. And I think that's what clients want as well, because they want that human touch. They want the trust, and they want that trusted advisor. So, yeah.
And Ian, bring you in here because that whole idea of a trusted advisor is something also central to what you do. And the partnership angle is important to that, isn't it? Because you've got the opportunity to leverage trust.
Yeah, I think sort of fairly quickly into the journey as a startup, and I realized that, a lot of my clients were coming to me for advice about, experts in other areas. And after a while, I realized how important accountants were to that. And it's actually one of the first questions we ask clients when they come to us. Have you got a good accountant? Because, we can do all these great legal documents and create structure and protection and all the rest. And lots of people have lots of ideas for businesses, but if the numbers don't work, they're going out of business. So that's how a level of importance that we place on finding those A-team players, those pillars of support for the business. And it starts with, accounting and legal and marketing. Those are the three massive drivers and areas of risk for a business. And I think every business owner has made multiple mistakes, and in terms of providers or particular lawyers or accountants or marketing professionals that have taken them to a certain level, but then they need someone that's got more skills to take them to the next level. But this is just the path of every entrepreneur, every business owner. But the sooner you find those right people and getting the right advice from the right people at the right time, I've just noticed that after, advising, 5,000 businesses in the last 10 years, just notice how crucial that is to their client success. And it's been crucial to ours as well. And I think when people come to you as a trusted, you become that trusted advisor for the business. So, they start to ask you questions. Oh, do you know a good this person? You know a good this person? You know a good this person? And then, if you don't have the answers to that, it actually, is a little bit of a poor reflection on you, because people will come to you as their trusted advisor, and expect you to have someone that you work with, and they all just, and maybe all these businesses just, think that we just sit around in smoking jackets and smoking cigars and drinking whiskey together on Friday nights and networking with each other. So if people ask me, don't you have like 50 accountants you can refer me to? Don't you have a criminal lawyer? Do you have a family lawyer? Do you have a wills and estate lawyer? And I'm based here, and don't you know someone there? They do expect you to have that network. And if you don't, it's, you kind of feel bad. So we've actually had to, put our feelers out and find the right people and get recommendations from people, so that we've got a long list of trusted referral partners that we can refer to. But obviously that's a double, it's not a double-edged sword, it's double whammy, because, if you're starting to refer work to people, then they tend to refer work back to you, because the more you give, we've found, the more you get.
Yeah, I think bringing back to what Talila was saying earlier on about the trust recession, and we live in a trust economy, I think I've heard that term used as well. And the flip side of that, of course, is you need to be able to trust the partners are going to deliver, because that can also have a poor reflection on you.
Yeah, and I think that's many of the partnerships. Every accountant has partners. I don't think any accountant doesn't have people that they trust around them. Do they have all the partners that they need, and do they have them acting in the way that they should? That's another story. Like, is it embedded? That's another story. But I think one of the things that people struggle with is, when you get a new person that you think would partner, how can you be sure that they're going to be a great fit, And that's one of the things that people feel like they can't orchestrate. They absolutely can. You can be quite strategic about acquiring amazing partners and the right partners for your clients and your business, and protect all parties. And I think both Wayne and Ian have been working on that. And because we're partners, I've been watching them, and it's been real joy. And Wayne, I think you'd agree that accountants are expected to be the trusted advisor for most businesses, right? That's like their role in a way.
Yeah, and I think in the accounting industry, we always refer back to a MYB survey done in the 80s. I don't know when it was. It was like whenever MYB came out, they did this survey, and they surveyed clients, and the accountant was a trusted advisor for clients. And it was a huge percentage compared to the other industries. Sorry, Ian, with legal. But accountants have hung their coat on that. It's been what they've relied on, and said, yes, we're the trusted advisor. And I think they need to be, I think, in today, because there's so much happening. A client needs a good source to come back to. And so I think if you really, to succeed as an accountant today, you need to be that trusted advisor. And just one other thing you're talking about there about partnerships, and I think it's important, is not the number of partners you have, but the quality. Not the quantity, but the quality of partners. So it's not about having hundreds of partners. It's about having good ones that you have, and making sure that it's structured with them, that you have I would have a formal sort of relationship with them. Yeah.
Talila, that 80-20 rule, and we spoke about this when we were doing the partner suitcase with you. There are referral partners, and then there are referral partners, just like there are accountants, and then there are accountants, lawyers, and then there's lawyers. Yes. And I'm sure when we get some more statistics, we'll almost undoubtedly find that, there are the 20% of the referral partners that bring us 80% of the work, so like you're saying, Wayne, like that quality over quantity. But, sometimes it's just good to have a number of options as well too for people to go to, and they can make their own decisions, or not. Sometimes it's just good just to give them one and go with them, or here's three, you speak to three of them and see who you like the best, make your own decision.
And I think there are differences in partnerships. So I like to think of it as a sliding scale. You've got your ad hoc referral partner. Oh, I know of someone, they've got a good reputation here, see them. That's very ad hoc. Then you've got like your reactive referral partner, where whenever something comes up, you're quite used to referring them and they refer you. It's often both ways. And then you've got something like a marketing partnership, which is what this podcast is, where basically there are three of us who are partners who all serve the same client, creating content together. And then you've got the real embedded partners that Wayne is talking about, where you're working so closely together with them. You know them really well, and you know how together you make magic for the clients. And Wayne's, your structured approach has really developed that for you, as it has for us. And Ian, as you're starting to take that more structured approach, I know that you're seeing differences, like the people really know what you do. And speaking to what Wayne said about accountants being trusted advisors and lawyers not, it's something I know you've struggled with, which is people are scared of lawyers, right? Accountants are even scared of lawyers, and you having to try to change that narrative because you're coming from the heart, really wanting to help clients and all the ways that you do that.
Look, law, I think, has been practiced in Australia and New Zealand poorly for the last 200 years. And the survey that we did when I started the firm, I was part of a business program, and one of their big pushes was like, get survey, find out what are the gripes, what are the issues, all that stuff, so you can solve those problems first. Because if you can solve them and articulate those, issues that they have better than they can, then they know you've got the answers. Then you've proven that you've got the answers because you've taken the time to understand what the problem is. And one of the things that just on accountants, like I never quite understood this. And when I started practicing law, partners at a firm would often complain about accountants and why they wouldn't, didn't do this right, didn't do that right, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's just been this unnecessary rub for the last 200 years. It's been really trying to push us to try and get away from this and get along, because at the end of the day, our purpose is the same. And it's to protect the client. And I think, definitely we've found that when we start to talk about this stuff with accountants and tell them, hey, we're not like the rest. Like, we want to help and we want to work with you. We don't want to tread on toes, and you do this, we do that. We don't do any of that. So we just, there's a clear line. And I think the treading on toes perhaps has caused those issues in the past with accountants. But we definitely have noticed how much happier accountants and clients are when we all get together, get on the same page, and then all singing from the same song sheet, so that there's no differing advice. Because this is an accountant, Wayne. Like, sometimes the legal advice is different from the accounting advice, and then the client sort of goes, "Oh, that's different. There's something." And then they don't know who to trust, because if one person's saying one thing and the other person's saying, no, this is the way you need to go, then the client then loses faith in potentially both and doesn't know who to trust. So we've definitely found that getting involved and everyone involved early, so that they get the meeting of the minds and getting the right advice that has both the financial and the legal advice together, has helped gain and accelerate the confidence of both accountants and lawyers. Because then the client realizes, oh, great, I've got an accountant and a lawyer that get along. Like, there's something makes such a big difference.
That's what the client wants. Yeah. You think about what the client wants. That's what they want. They want that circle of trust. They don't want to get different advice. And I like what you do, Ian, with your rules, really, or how you engage with accountants. It's you always get them involved. You have your set of presence, I suppose. And that's, it is a fear sometimes when accountants referred to lawyers is, one, they're probably going to get a horrendous bill, or they're going to, then we don't get copied in on advice, and then we get left in the dark. So I think that starts up front. And that's why I think we talk about structured partnerships is, if you want to partner with me, which is what you've got, then these are the rules, and that's how we do it. And it's all at the aim of making sure the client's happy.
Yeah.
The communication breakdown, I think that's led to a lot of issues between accountants and lawyers. But someone's got to initiate that communication and get and really sort of get everyone on the same page together. And so we've just sort of more taken the lead on that, because we think leading by example is the way of getting everyone on the same page. And accountants are quite delighted. We've found to be, part of that process, and like, oh wow, the lawyer wants to set up a time, and it also saves the client money as well too, because the sooner you can get on the same page and everyone, meeting together. Let's all have a meeting and work this out together. And then the client can hear the lawyer and the accountant talking, giving advice and asking each other questions, etc. It just makes such a massive difference. And then they don't have to, okay, I'll get the financial advice first, and then I'll go get the legal advice first. And then I'll come back to the accountant and say, the lawyer said this. And then the client feels like there's this go-between, and translating gobbledygook between their respective professionals, when really just pick up the phone and have a chat with each other, with or without the client, doesn't matter. But it ends up saving the client money down the track because there's less time spent going back and forth, and then all these other issues that we know are out there.
Accountants are in a really good spot right now because, as Wayne said, things are changing really fast. And you can either be left behind because of the wave of AI, or you can become that trusted advisor. And now you've got the opportunity to spend more time with clients and invest in your clients and also in your partners, and give those clients, as Ian said, a completely seamless experience. This is what clients want that no AI can really replace. And so what partnerships enable accountants to do is give the client a better experience. And the reason why is because the client has multiple needs that are sometimes even conflicting, like the structure of a business. Should it be set up legally or should it be set up financially? They're not always the same thing, but you have to have both perspectives weighing in to get the client the right result. And so this point in time is the best point in time that I can imagine for accountants to become much more connected and much more working with all of the circle of people that surrounds the client. And I'd say, Wayne, I think you'd agree that every accountant should have 7 or 8 specific partners around them, at least, that do different things, and one of them being a law firm, of course. And you always did. And one of the things I want to say before I segue to you over that is what I love about what you do, Wayne, is it's the 3 freedoms, right? Accountants are aiming to grow their business, but they don't want to burn out. They don't want struggling with staff. There's all these different issues going on. And to me, partnerships is kind of the solution to everything, because it opens up better clients, more clients, higher value clients, advisory. And at the same time, it allows them to, handle compliance using offshoring and automation. And at the same time, it enables them to grow in a structured way. So I know that was a mouthful, Wayne, but referring to what you yourselves did in Findlay & Co. and what you help 150 businesses do now.
Yeah. So, the freedoms, that's something Scott and I, we sort of live by is, we sort of portray and try to show our clients is, the freedom of, we call it wealth, which is, one, making sure that you're making money. Then the other freedom is time. And I think a lot of professionals today are time poor. And so what we need to be able to do is create capacity. And, if you want to be that person at the center of your clients, you need to be available, or you need to have a team available. And so if you haven't got capacity and you're doing stuff that, one, probably you shouldn't be doing, then you're not going to be able to help your clients. And then the third one that flows on from both of those is sort of stress and being able to, experience life, I think, and get that work-life balance right. And I think, that's something I know accountants struggle with and professionals. And so making sure that you've got the wealth and the time right, and then perhaps you could use that freedom that you've got from less stress to go out and do things like, I love golf. It could be out golfing, but why don't you go and play golf with some of your partners, that you want to, get referrals from. It's a great way to sort of, do things. Or coffee, that's my other love. Go out and have a coffee with someone once a week, but make it structured. And so it's a way of making sure that work-life balance is right. Yeah.
I think one of the important things here, that's summing up some of the things that we've talked about here, goes back to why this podcast has been created and what we want to do moving forward, which is to really give everyone listening in, particularly accountants, a sense of how partnerships can make a difference to the nature of what you do. And Talila, I think it's important to give everyone a bit of a sense in as well as how that all came about for you, because partnerships was something that was embedded in you going back a few years, and you've become an expert in delivering all of that. So maybe give us a little bit of that background story of how that all happened.
Yeah, partnerships changed absolutely everything for me. Absolutely everything. And so when I was young, there was tragedy in my childhood. I ended up without my parents and actually without any money and without anything. I was like I'd been dropped from the sky at one point. Not to go into that to too much detail. I built a small business in commercial and graphic design at first. It was in marketing. And I got someone who became my business partner. He believed in me and he was helping me with my work. And one day I had this vision that I wanted to create a calendar for all of North Queensland. It had all the events in North Queensland and we'd bring them all together. I know this is far from the accounting world, guys, but hang with me for a minute, because there is a point. And my business partner said, that's going to cost like probably the equivalent of $100,000 in today's thing just to get off the ground. We don't have that. And I said, I have this vision, we're going to partner with them. And I had a really, like Wayne said, a very structured approach to how we approached the councils. I figured out exactly what it was that they wanted and how we would deliver it, created a complete pitch around that, engaged with them and brought them on one by one by one. And pretty soon we had partnered with 15 councils all over North Queensland. Everyone from down Whitsundays up to Cooktown, actually even the one above that, Torres Strait, and right out to Mount Isa. So that was built on partnerships. And it was my real understanding that what you can't achieve as an individual, you can achieve with a group of aligned parties that are working for the same client. And when I sold that business, because I got married and had a baby and literally couldn't run it, we built up a big sales group that became Emple. And again, our first coach, we were so blessed to have a coach called Andrew Roberts. And he was a marketing partnership genius. Like, he was crazy good at this stuff. When he was young, in his early 20s, he'd been a business coach and he'd figured out the power of network science, like the power of getting introduced to the right person and creating a partnership. So that plus his knowledge that trust is it. He never sold direct to clients. He never marketed to clients. He always marketed through partners. He was so good at it. And he leapfrogged from several connections to make a connection in St. George's Bank that at that time blew, like once the St. George's Bank guy had come on board, blew up his business and he went from $500,000 to $3 million a year turnover within 6 months, which was a lot more money back then than it is now, mind you. It's like 30, 40 years ago. And then he helped lots of others do the same thing. And that's why marketing partnerships are central to what we teach in Partner Suitcase as well. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Why go and try and market cold to people in a trust recession when there are people who already have your clients who are trusted by them? And if you create the right relationship with them and it's based on trust and values and a client comes first, it's easy marketing. Like, the door just opens. I mean, Wayne, we helped you run a masterclass with one of your partners not long ago. And I know the room is full. And we're doing another one soon, specifically about partnerships for accountants. And I know how beautifully that works for marketing as well.
Well, that's all we have time for in this conversation. Next time, we're tackling the headwinds facing accountants: AI, automation, and changing client expectations. It's one you don't want to miss. A reminder also about some exclusive roundtable events for accountants coming up. Visit the show notes for dates and registration details. All contact information for Talila, Wayne, and Ian is there as well. This is a Partner Alchemy podcast for thought leaders, a joint venture between Emple and my team at podcastdoneforyou.com.au. I'm Anthony Pearl, reminding you to like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time on The Connected Accountant.